Got Cunha over the line. Bryan Mbeumo wants to go to Manchester United. Now explain something to me. They've had a dreadful season. They appear to be in disarray off the pitch with cuts and whatever. What's the appeal of Manchester United?
I think we've seen over the last 24 hours, Bruno Fernandes could have gone and got £750,000 rumoured per week. He's decided to stay on what he's on at Manchester United. He's turned down the big money. Matheus Cunha had loads of options in the Premier League and across Europe because of the release clause. He's decided to go to Manchester United. With all that recent history of that club not performing, they still have a huge pull for players, regardless of no European football. And I guess when you look at this man, Bryan Mbeumo, been absolutely outstanding since he joined Brentford in 2019, and he had options on the table from other clubs playing in the Champions League, and he again looks to have decided Manchester United is where my future lies. Now, I think that shows just the pull that the club has. To go into the detail of this particular deal, now Brentford have the option of 1 year plus a further year on his contract, no release clause, but they believe the way he's performed since he arrived in 2019, 200 plus appearances, around 70 goals, he's earned the right to move on. He's earned the right to play for a big club. He's earned the right to prove himself at the highest. Now, whilst they don't want to lose him, they accept he has given everything for Brentford whilst he's been there. So therefore, they are happy to listen to offers, those that they feel reflect the value of the player, which we understand to be. There's been no club-to-club talk at this stage, but there is a confidence that Bryan Mbeumo wants to join Manchester United. And normally when the player says the right noises publicly about, well, this is the right opportunity for me, it's only a matter of time before you get to the formality of the two clubs speaking. So that's the situation there. We know that this is one potentially to happen, but it's just a matter of time, and that will be a big part of what Manchester United are doing, that rebuild, and in particular having two number 10s, which is what Ruben Amorim wants. And you can imagine Matheus Cunha, Bryan Mbeumo, that could be very dangerous.
James, great signing if they get it over the line.
He's been remarkable this season. 20 Premier League goals he scored for a club like Brentford, and Wissa deserves immense credit as well. So does Thomas Frank for getting the very best out this player. I think there have been times that it was the BMW, wasn't it, with Ben Rama and Watkins, but it felt this man didn't quite get the move. He didn't get the limelight. It was the other players that did, but he deserves that now. He's probably surpassed what the likes of Ivan Toney have done in a Brentford shirt. When you look at what they've achieved this season, what a statement it would be for Manchester United. They can bring in Matheus Cunha and Bryan Mbeumo, two of the most impressive attacking players in the Premier League this season, to the club in June. There's still plenty of time to go in this transfer window, but for those two to be there through the door for the first day of pre-season, what a statement of intent that is, what a sign that is. We're back in Ruben Amorim here.
Right, we touched on Jadon Sancho just a moment ago, but I want to get into this because on the surface, Mark, it looks like Chelsea are going, here, 5 million quid, you can have him back. Explain why it's not that simple.
Yeah, Manchester United could have potentially a little problem on their hands with a number of players that they actually don't really want at the football club this summer, so therefore they need to shift him on. Their thinking would have been, right, he's gone to Chelsea, no problem there. The contractual situation was it was an obligation if Chelsea finished higher than 14th in the Premier League that they had to purchase Jadon Sancho for £25 million. They can get out of that by paying £5 million to Manchester United, which we believe is what they're going to do. Now, there was no loan fee attached to this contract, to this situation. So essentially what they're doing is paying a £5 million loan fee and sending him back. But there was no loan fee at the beginning of this. So it's an interesting one to look at because on the surface you think, hang on a second. Now, there were conversations between Jadon Sancho's representatives and those people at Chelsea, but he has to fit in to their wage structure. Now, there are reports he's earning around £250,000 to £300,000 a week, which wouldn't fit into what Chelsea are doing. So therefore, go back to Manchester United. Unfortunately, we can't find some common ground with your wages, and therefore we'll pay the fine or the fee, the £5 million fee, and that's where we are with it. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. This man, no question, played big games for Chelsea, started the Europa Conference League final, was a big part of that squad, ended up with some silverware, interest from Europe. I'm sure someone will come knocking.
Will they though, James? Because as you said, it's got a bit congested of the players that United don't want. Antony, Rashford, Sancho. So what's next?
I think it's certainly a problem that Manchester United could have dealt without this summer. I think when they bid farewell to him last summer, there was a real hope that this deal and this chapter would come to a close for Manchester United because it simply hasn't worked out. United spending more than £70 million to bring Jadon Sancho to the football club. Think of all those matches that he missed when they were paying that immense salary for him not to be in the squad because of what happened under Erik ten Hag. He impressed at Borussia Dortmund on loan. He did well in spells at Chelsea. I think in a way it's worked for all parties because there is still a market value there for Jadon Sancho. United, they are expecting offers for him in this transfer window. It's understood a number of clubs in the Premier League and Europe have approached Jadon Sancho's representatives about what the conditions of the deal could look like. I think there is a preference from all parties, Jadon Sancho and Manchester United, for this chapter to officially come to a close this summer. But you can't rule out another loan deal potentially in this window. If clubs aren't going to be willing to match those wages, and let's be honest, over the course of the last 2 or 3 years, has Jadon Sancho merited the wages that he's expecting in this window? That's a conversation to be had. It's worth pointing out here, there's no suggestion this will be the case, but Ruben Amorim hasn't had a chance to work this footballer yet because he left before he came in.
Good point.
I'm not suggesting he could be integrated, but there could be a situation where if they can't get rid of him, he's on those wages, then they have to get him involved in their plans because it is costing United a serious amount of money to have a player like that not doing anything if they can't get rid of him. Very early on this transfer window, we understand United are expecting offers, but definitely one to bear in mind.
All right, so what we do know is that Chelsea may have wanted him, but they've given him back. If they don't want Jadon Sancho, do they want Jamie Gittins?
And there's an interesting link there as well because he's at Borussia Dortmund.
And James Savundra and Mark McAdam are our transfer experts tonight. Let's start then with Bruno Fernandes, gentlemen. A lot of money for him not to go to Manchester United. James, what do you think?
A lot of money. He had the opportunity to potentially
not to leave
even
Manchester
triple
United.
his salary, didn't he? The opportunity to potentially earn somewhere near 700